Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am here to talk some PGA golf. Very excited coming off of another victory last weekend for our Coach Talk staff here. This was our fifth week in a row with some major wins across our golf team. Some real sweats on Sunday as we were up top in some of the big tournaments. Um, Terrific finishes. Didn't have our guys pull out the monster wins at the end, but certainly enough to good solid cashes in our GPPs and very good in our cash games as well. So we went with last week a lot of European players. There was some rain and some heavy wind coming in the weekend. So planned ahead and really put together some serious European flavor. And those guys were able to step up. Top 20 guys that got it done for us were Fitzpatrick, Casey, Fleetwood, certainly DeChambeau winning it was also awesome. We don't want to forget him. But there were some other guys that fought hard. Tyrrell Hatton, and we were sort of Team England there for a while. So it was a great week. This week, of course, is very exciting. It's the fifth major, basically. They're pretty close to calling it that at some point, I think. But it is the Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass. Really fun tournament to watch. They will have a decent amount of fans there, so they'll be chirping and creating a really fun atmosphere. Certainly around 17 and in areas where it's a great time. So definitely had fun this week watching with fans there. It definitely you don't realize how much it affects everything until there's no fans, and all of a sudden there's fans starting to come back. So it should be a really fun tournament. All the big boys are there. Definitely going to get the best of the best in this tournament. As a lot of you know, the TPS Sawgrass course is a par 72, 7,200 yards, tons and tons of water on this course. There's actually water sort of in play, but enough to state that 17 out of 18 holes, you've got water in your view somewhere when you're teeing off. So it is very challenging. I think that as far as difficulty, it's similar to last week's course, maybe just a shade easier. I know last year it was a little softer, and they started out looking like they were going to tear up the course. And then, if you remember, that's the week that we had the COVID shutdown and everybody was chased out of there. So no champion from last year. The defending champion is from the year before, 2019, and that's Rory Mcilroy. So, that's sort of an oddity, but that's what the COVID world was last year for sure for us. With the Pete Dye design here, he is definitely, that's why I love his courses to watch golf the most. Not particularly play, but watch. But, his designs are very risk reward. There'll be guys, that if you hit a great drive and put it in the right position and then hit a nice iron in and keep the ball placed on the green where it needs to be, you can make birdies and even some eagles on this course. However, you hit something astray and you're going to go in the drink, or you're going to be in big trouble. And not only does bogey come into play, but double bogey plus comes into play. So this course has eaten a lot of people alive through the years, and it definitely is a challenge, but it's not ridiculous, like a U.S. Open course or whatever, where people are just scrambling to try to make even par. I mean, you're going to get some birdies and eagles here for sure. So that will be a lot of fun. A couple of holes that are going to be cool for the Bryson DeChambeau thing. That's the big thing now is he going to try to drive some of these par fives like he tried to do on the sixth hole last weekend. And, it really helped him on strokes gained tee to green because he was able to cut a massive corner out of that par five and be like 80 yards out. I mean, he was in the rough both times, but he was 80 yards out on a par five, so you can't beat that for sure. There are two holes on this course where it can be done. So will he pull the driver out? It's number 4 and number 9. They play between 360 and 390, but there are landing spots where he could take a big cut at it. We'll see. It's possible. Doesn't happen that often, but there are guys that have tried it before. So if anybody's going to do it, he's definitely the guy to do it with that monster drive. So, that should be a lot of fun. All right, couple of things. Let's talk about the BetUS.com.pa, our partners there. Let's look at some odds for this tournament. Very, very balanced. Tons of guys with a chance here. I mean, it makes this DFS slate just terrific. There's no chalk. I don't think anybody's going to be chalk. I think you're going to see ownership spread all over the place. And being a big high-profile tournament like this, similar to the majors, you're going to have a lot of people joining. There's a monster millionaire millie makers out there, and just big tournaments you can get in. It should be a blast. PGA Live is carrying every shot the whole tournament. So, the potential to watch everybody play the whole tournament is really cool as well. All right, right now, I'll give you the top 20 so you can get just a feel before we talk about a few of these guys. Dustin Johnson right now is the favorite at 11-1, followed by Rory McIlroy at 13, Jon Rahm at 15, Schofley 18, Justin Thomas 18, and then everybody else is bunched as we go through these. You have DeChambeau, Morikawa, Cantley, Hovland, Simpson, Finau, Matsuyama, Reed, Hatton, Scheffler, Berger, Spieth, Casey, and Scott. So how about that? I mean, you're talking big, big names. I mean, a lot of those guys down at 17 or 18 were favorites to win in some of these tournaments, but you've got the big field here with everybody playing, so it makes it a lot more interesting for sure. A couple of things too I wanted to point out is the pricing is interesting here. Like I say, for me, I think that there's more potential for your medium builds or semi not quite dumpster dive type players. I think there's so many players that have a chance here that are in play that you can really shuffle around your lineup in multiple ways. I think you'll have some people that will try to go stars and scrubs. I'm not going that route. I don't think it's necessary here. They're statistically looking at the top 5 guys right now, price-wise, Johnson, Rahm, McIlroy, Thomas, and then Koepka is out with his injury. Those guys don't do that great here. I mean, you're talking about, a lot of miscuts from some of these guys, some good finishes, some bad finishes, but it's not like, where we feel a couple of these top guys are just, lock washers to make the cut. And, we feel, and we've stated that several times, in this field, this guy should be a top 5, top 10 for sure. He's a must in your lineup. I don't think you can say that about a single guy on this entire slate, which makes it extremely fun because you're going to have some DJ people, some Rahm people, McIlroy folks, etc. But not heavily. I mean, there's doubt with all of those guys I just mentioned. So again, I think the ownership will be spread out. I think probably the least we've had to look at the ownership, this season so far because of there's so many people with a shot. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody in the 8,000s on DraftKings was the winner of this tournament. I mean, there's plenty of guys, even in the upper sevens, that are in the thick of it as well. Couple of things, too, to note. You have Sergio Garcia, who I think he'll sort of be the darling of probably the podcast and providers a lot this week. He's made the cut here 10 years in a row, loves the course, just, fits his game. He's right in the thick of it all the time there. But, I can just tell you right off the schneid here, he's going to be a fade for me because I just don't like the fact that people are going to want to roster him for, making a cheaper guy on there, which I think he should be cheaper actually, making that guy into your lineup because you feel he's going to get you through the cut, which I get it. I mean, like I always say, half the battle is if you can get your 6 guys through to Saturday, and this is a 156-man field. So it's not a piece of cake to make this cut at all. I mean, you got to shoot some scores, if you want to get it done. But Sergio's in the mid sevens. He's 7.5 on DraftKings. Again, there's guys below that number that I like better, and I understand the course history. And again, I just think he's going to be overowned. A lot of people have so much familiarity with him. They're going to be rostering him up quite a bit. So top prices, again, the guys that are over 10K here. You got DJ. This is DraftKings pricing. 11.2, Rahm 10.9, McIlroy 10.6, and then you have Thomas just under at 9.9. So, those are the big sticks. And again, I don't know how you feel super great about any of those guys. I mean, certainly those guys have every chance in the world to win this, but I wouldn't say, this guy is going to be right there. I mean, these guys have all played good and bad here. So the difference on FanDuel is pretty alarming price-wise, extremely different, actually. You've got 12,002 Dustin Johnson. He is the most expensive, but you have Bryson at 12K. Huge higher price than he is on DraftKings. Then you've got 11.8 Rory, 11.7 John Rahm, 11.5 Justin Thomas, 11.4 Xander Schofley, 11.3 Colin Morikawa, 11.2 Webb Simpson, and 11.1 Patrick Cantley. So a lot more guys priced up on FanDuel than on DraftKings. The pricing is a lot different. At Coach Talk here, we always talk with our members to, have some exposure to both FanDuel and DraftKings because there are price advantages that on any slate, regardless of the sport, give you a big edge. And you need to take advantage of every small edge you can. And if it's getting a better price on a guy that, you're expecting to have a strong finish, then, that's where the majority of your action should go. I also like Yahoo. I think they have some really different pricing there, which everybody knows. And, it's very doable. You can stack more strong players the way that their pricing is set up. So, have some exposure there. Fantastic contests everywhere. Of course, the huge contest on DraftKings is going to be a lot of fun as well. All right, let's talk about some guys I've got on my radar here. My two pay-up guys aren't in that top 5, basically. I'm just going to be a shade below that. And, I'm basing a lot of this on, statistically diving in here, not only looking at course history, but, history on this Florida swing, guys that are in form. There are some that took last week off to prepare for this tournament. We know we had 2 withdrawals from last week, which, I'm going to fade those guys. Nothing worse than a withdrawal, in one of your lineups before you even get started and it's after lock. But Justin Rose and Louis Oosthuizen both withdrew last week. I was watching when Rose's back sort of locked up on him. It was right after he hit 3 balls in the water. So is that a coincidence or not? I don't know. But hey, it is what it is. But it didn't do any favors for Mr. Justin there either. He had to play, or I'm sorry, who was it? It was, it's bugging me. He played by Jordan Spieth, had to play the rest of the round by himself when Rose withdrew. So that wasn't any fun for him either. Definitely throws you off your timing and everything going on when you have to stand around and wait too. So those 2 guys, I'm afraid to play. There are some guys too that, we need more news on. That's the one thing about PGA is there's not really an injury list. We don't get those reports all the time. You just have to keep digging and looking. I know there was no reports about Oosthuizen and his possible withdrawal. Now, he's in the field this week, as is Rose, so we'll see, but I'm not going to either place. Another guy that I think is interesting to discuss here is Patrick Cantley. He withdrew 2 weeks ago with some kind of stomach ailment, and I guess, he lost some weight and just wasn't feeling well. Now, from what I've read, he's doing okay now and ready to go. But that, just that shadow of doubt concerns me. I mean, if someone's had a stomach virus and, lost some weight and, felt weak, sometimes it takes a little while to get that back. So this is his first competitive round of golf, since he's recovered a couple weeks ago. Now, he could be 100%, so I'm not saying he's a big fade because I think he's got a great chance here. But, if it's going to affect him just even 1%, with all the choices here, I'm not going to force a Cantley pick. He probably would have been in there for me if, I felt he was fine-tuned coming into this. But he's got so much talent. If he gets locked in, he's going to be there. So, but I'm going to move on from him. I'm going with really, like I say, I tried to build a lineup of guys that I felt were sharp, that were on the upswing, that have had some decent finishes of late. I mean, recency is important in the PGA. I know, a guy will jump up and snag a tournament out of nowhere at times, but for the most part, it's guys that are grinding, doing decently, just waiting to have everything click. And then, instead of a 12th place finish, they get a victory. So my 2 pay up guys that I'm looking at here, one of them is Xander Schofley. I think that he's just so due for a big win. He's played this course well in the past. He's got the type of game where, he's long enough for sure, and he's got precision. He's got solid iron play. Now when he gets on the greens, he can get slumped a little bit at times, and these greens aren't going to be easy. But, same thing goes for when he gets hot. If he sees a few go in, he could, get on a major roll. So Schofley is my favorite pay up guy, which he's not having to pay up in the 11s on Fanduel or the 10s on DraftKings. He's just a little bit below that, which gives you a little bit better advantage when you're filling in a couple of those value guys. The second guy that I like that's a little pricey, I am going to save for our members. I don't mean to tick anybody off that's listening that's not a member, but this second guy is the guy I'm also going to bet to win the tournament, and really want to save that pick because he's going to be in 100% of my lineups for our members. I will release that lineup on Wednesday. Today's Monday right now. We're going to put this out earlier than normal, and so that it's out there for a couple of days for everybody to listen to. But we'd love to have you join. This is a fantastic time to get involved at DFS Coach Talk. You can go to dfscoachtalk.com, sign up. We have a 3-day pass for $10, and you can join today. Your Pass will not start until Wednesday. What we decided to do over this All-Star break, because the NBA is down and we don't focus on some of the smaller sports, we froze all the memberships all weekend through Wednesday for our members. And so the clock will start again on Wednesday for our members. And if you're a new member and you buy a 3-day pass today, you can jump in and get in our Discord. And the clock does not start till Wednesday. So you would get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all for $10. So you can't beat it. Give you a chance to look at some of our information. Certainly get my lineups and this buy-up that I'm looking at to win this tournament, which will go up Wednesday evening in our Discord. We'll also have, even though he's not on the podcast this week, Andrew is traveling, he will have lineups, and he's been super hot. He's the king of the value play too. If you need a guy or two to make the salary work, I don't know anybody in the industry better than Andrew than getting those guys through at least to the cut for you. So he will be providing all of his lineups on Wednesday evening with me in Discord. So we'd love to have you. We also have a phenomenal deal right now with our partners at betus.com.pa. You can go to their website and sign up with the promo code CoachTalk, all one word, no space. Or you can go to our website, dfscoachtalk.com, and sign up for the $149 package without BetUS. That's fine as well. Either way, you get, from the day you sign up all the way through to June 1st, you get a membership, either paying the $149 through us. If you do the betus.com.pa membership, that $149, if it's your first deposit in BetUS, you get to play that on BetUS, all the props, all the betting, the lines I just read. If you want to play the golf this weekend, or and with that, you get a free membership to Coach Talk all the way through to June 1st. It seems too good to be true, but it is an awesome offer, and it's there. So you'll get all of our basketball. We're 7 days a week. You'll get baseball. We're kicking off baseball here pretty quick. And just really fired up for all of that coming down the road. So, all right, let's bring up a few guys in this mid-level to, a little higher price guys that I've looked at here, and some are making my lineups, some I'm still trying to fit in. But I think Paul Casey's been in great form. I think that he's a guy that you really have to consider. His price is very fair, and he's like I say, playing really good golf. Right now, I've got him at 9,900 on Fanduel, which I think he really fits well there. And he's the kind of guy that could definitely win the tournament at a little bit of a secondary price. Another guy that I think is certainly worth mentioning here, and I've liked him in the past. I had him to win at 40-1 when he won this tournament a few weeks back, and that's Max Homa. He's played here before. He's playing solid golf. His irons are sharp. Again, he can get hot with a putter. I just think at 9,200 on FanDuel, that's just such a fair price when you look at some of the guys that are stacked up around him. I think you got to consider him with the level that he's playing at right now. A few sort of Andrew plays here that I want to put out there. Chris Kirk, $7,000 on DraftKings and only 8,800 on FanDuel. So both plays I think are terrific. The DraftKings price is a steal. Here's a guy that's been grinding and playing tough, man. He almost made a playoff 3 weeks back. Then he was in the hunt. He played well again this week. He's got good course history here. Just a super value price for a guy I feel pretty confident that can make the cut and be, in the thick of it at that price. I have to mention Sungjae Im. I mean, he's a guy that just another one that just keeps knocking on the door. If he could just steady gets steady on the greens right now, he's going to be fine. He's been a little erratic putting the ball, but man, as far as ball striking and he could play it, and he's done well on this course as well, and I think he's very dangerous. At just same type of player, same type of pricing, Scotty Scheffler, Texas boy here, he's playing good golf. He's another one, tee to green, that's up there in a lot of the statistics. And if he can roll it, they're going to be fast, really high on the stimp meter this week. But if he can roll them, he's another guy with his strength, but touch is a guy that, made my short list of guys I'm looking at. Here's another guy I think is a good price, very fair for a guy that's been in the thick of it, man. And he was in it this week too. And his name is Christian Brisenhout. It's very hard to pronounce it, but he's it's B-E-Z, by the way, Brisenhout, and terrific player. I mean, the guy is just chopping it up lately, getting it done. He finished 7th this past week. He's made 4 cuts in a row since he came back over to the States. He's playing great ball and great golf. And he's, you look at some of the things he played in the concession. He was 32nd, last year's Masters 38th, and even in the U.S. Open 55. So we're talking big tournaments, big cuts, and a guy that can be very dangerous at a very cheap price. He's 9,500 on Fanduel, and on DraftKings he's 7,100. So there you go. There's 2 guys, 7,100 and 7,000, with Brisenhout and Kirk, that I think can make the cut and be competitive. The other guy that's underpriced, I got a feeling he's going to grab a lot of ownership though, is Joaquin Neiman. The last couple of weeks, his price has just plummeted. I mean, he was up there close to the big boys there for a while. He's only 7,700 on DraftKings, and I know he's young, but that kid can play. I mean, he's got 3 top 10s already. He's just steady. He's 9,500 on FanDuel, so a little more there, but it's just a guy that, I think can get it done. I think he can be right there, and at his odds, with that price, I think he's right in the mix of it. All right, let's see. One other guy I wanted to bring up. Let's see, we got Kcm Scheffler. Absolutely needs to be discussed. Brisenhout, Schofley. Yes, Schofley. And then Kirk. And then we mentioned Sergio. I mean, it's hard to not at that mid-sevens price. If I play multiple lineups, I usually build one lineup. I just feel strong about it. But in the Millie Maker, where I may take 4 or 5 shots, which I don't usually recommend, but it's worth a twirl for the hell of it. If I'll make a few pivots in each one of those lineups, and have to include Sergio somewhere. I mean, making the cut 10 years in a row definitely deserves some respect. As far as big fades for me, DJ being the most expensive, you got to be a riverboat gambler for me to take Johnson on any given week. He can obviously run away with the thing and win it by multiple strokes, or he can miss the cut. You don't always know what you're going to get from DJ, and he's so priced, it just doesn't seem like the risk reward factor is going to make it for me. John Rahm, 9 for 9 on cuts made. I mean, he's a machine as well. But, just watching him in the last couple of tournaments, there's just some part of his game is just missing. He just doesn't look sharp. He almost looks like he's playing without a ton of confidence, which makes no sense for one of the best players in the world, for sure. But again, if you feel this is his week and he's going to put it together, I wouldn't fault you going that direction. Here's a guy that I haven't played at all. I've been fading him like crazy. I just don't think he looks like himself at all. And that's Rory Mcilroy, which, it tells you what kind of incredible talent this man has. I mean, he was in the run going into Sunday. He was 7 under, had a chance to make a little bit of a move, and the wheels fell off a bit and he just didn't get it done again. But watching him in these last events, I don't know what it is. He looks almost disinterested to me, or just his focus isn't there. He doesn't seem to have that drive or intensity that you're used to seeing, from Rory in competitive situations. I don't know, maybe he's missing being with his newborn son, or what the case may be, but things like that affect people. There's a lot of people say that it's because of there's been very little crowds and he feeds off the crowd. There was some crowd there Sunday and they were making some noise for him, and it went the wrong direction. So until I see McIlroy, his demeanor change on the course, I'm going to fade him specifically at that price. Now, I can tell you the last pay-up guy that didn't make it for me, that was on the cusp, he will make one of my Millie Maker lineups, is JT. I think, you got to consider Justin Thomas at any point. I mean, he's that good, and he can win any tournament at any time. Good course record here. He did, he made the cut and did okay last year, or the year before last, and he hit 5 balls in the water. So how do you do that? I have no idea. Those guys are magicians with being able to par holes where they hit it in the water, something that I know nothing about. But, so I think that he's certainly a guy that you got to, think about. The other guy that is tempting that I think will draw some ownership is Colin Morikawa. I mean, it's just a matter of time before things click back in with him. He's not far off. He's playing solid golf. The statistics show that, but he hasn't really had that one big, move forward. So this could be the place. I mean, he certainly has all the tools. He has struggled on the greens at times. If he can pull that part of his game together, on these slick greens this week, he's going to be right in the hunt as well. So that's really the guys I wanted to feature. Historically, here's a group of guys I pulled the last 5 years, and a combination of guys that had completed their first round last year, when it was canceled because of COVID, and then the 4 years prior. These guys all had top 10s, and I just thought it was worth mentioning. DJ, of course, Fleetwood, Jason Day, Matsuyama, Simpson, Schofley, Scott, and Emmanuel Grillo. So just guys I want to throw out there to you that certainly deserve consideration and have had some really good finishes on the track. So that is it. No quiz this week for Andrew, as he's on another winning streak in that. We'll be back next week together for golf. But wanted to get this out a little early since it's such a big tournament. You don't want to wait till the very end to get in some of those big competitions, because I noticed a ton of folks already registering for the big Millie Makers and such. So get that reserve spot in there, get a skeleton line in, maybe base it on some of the stuff we talked about here, and then tweak it as the week goes on. We'll be in Discord all week. We'll be talking about the weather and, any news that comes out with some of the guys that had withdrawn from last week. I mean, those are important things to know, specifically what Rose and Oosthuizen and even Cantley coming back, what the news is on them, how the practice rounds are going. So we'll put all of those pieces together in Discord for you. Love to have you, dfscoachtalk.com. I want to thank our sponsor, betus.com.pa as well. And we're just happy to be out here and getting it done. No basketball for today or tomorrow, Monday and Tuesday. So we're gearing up for the just little 2-game slate on Wednesday and putting all the pieces together. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and NBA is going to be craziness, because there's huge amounts of games, lots of player news happening. Expect a few trades to come down. We know Griffin was signed with the Nets after the buyout with the Pistons. And I think that'll just be the first domino of several moves. So we will be on top of it, and we would love to have you join us. So really appreciate you listening in with the golf stuff. The Players Championship this week is going to be a blast, and going to get tons and tons of coverage to watch for sure. So you'll be able to follow any of your favorites. So we will be back now on Wednesday with our NBA podcast. So Andrew and I will be back in the mix here in a couple of days. And but until then, we really appreciate you, and we look to have you join us again when we look to crush it in DFS.